Clumsy fool. Maxine Waters' opponent grabbed the front of her outfit and yanked it roughly. This costs more than you're worth, the woman sneered. Maxine stumbled back as the fabric tore along her shoulder, revealing her smooth, dark skin. The attacker's diamond bracelet flashed under the chandelier light as she shoved again, forcing Maxine into a nearby table. Crystal shattered. Expensive wine spread across the white marble. Maxine lay amid the wreckage, outfit torn and askew, her shoulder exposed to every phone in the room. Her adversary stood over her, designer dress stained with wine but triumphant. 8,000 ruined in a moment. The crowd pressed closer. Cameras clicked. Someone began live streaming. Maxine didn't scream or cry. She simply looked up, eyes calm yet unreadable. The live stream count climbed, 31,000 viewers and rising. She pushed herself up from the wine-soaked marble, glass crunching beneath her hands. The chandeliers cast sharp shadows across her exposed skin as she reached for a tablecloth to cover herself. "Don't you dare," the woman barked, cutting through the whispers. "You destroyed an $8,000 dress. Do you people know what this costs?" The crowd closed in, forming a tight circle around the mess. Designer gowns rustled. Jewelry sparkled under phone flashes. Perfume mingled with spilled wine in the air. "More than your hired help earns in 6 months, the woman continued, voice rising. "This is why I told Elite Catering not to hire people like her for proper events." Some guests murmured agreement. Maxine kept her eyes down, carefully picking up the larger glass shards. Her movements were precise, professional. She had handled messes before, just never her own humiliation. The woman circled her like a predator. "Look at this mess. Red wine on white marble. Do you even know how much this floor costs per square foot? Of course not. People like you rent spaces smaller than my closet." The digital wall showed 9:30 p.m. VIP donor presentations were set for 10:30, 1 hour away. Maxine's phone buzzed against her hip. 3 missed calls from Marcus, CEO. She let it ring. A security guard approached. "Should we remove her?" "Not yet," the woman said, sharp as crystal. "I want everyone to see what happens when you hire unvetted help." The catering supervisor appeared, wringing her hands. "I'm so sorry, Mrs. Waters. She's usually very careful." The woman raised an eyebrow. "On a first-name basis with the staff, how quaint." She turned back to Maxine. "Stand up when I'm speaking to you." Maxine rose slowly, the torn fabric falling from her shoulder. She adjusted it with quiet dignity, silencing the room's laughter. "You ruined my dress, my evening, my charity event. Anything to say for yourself?" "I apologize for the accident," Maxine said evenly, voice steady and articulate. "I'll file a report with my insurance company to cover damages." Several guests exchanged surprised looks. "Insurance for a server?" The attacker laughed sharply. "Insurance? You probably don't even have health coverage. This dress costs more than your car, more than everything you own." Maxine reached into her pocket, pulling out her phone, its case finely crafted leather. Her wedding ring caught the light as she scrolled her contacts. "I understand you're upset," she said calmly. "Perhaps we should handle this through proper channels." "Proper channels?" The woman snapped. "The proper channel is you begging for forgiveness, paying every penny of damages plus pain, suffering, and the cost of ruining my event." Livestream comments poured in. "Team Victoria, make her pay." Rich lady protecting her investment. That maid is way too calm. Suspicious. Most supported the attacker. Viewer count hit 45,000. A young socialite held up her phone. "Should I call the police?" She technically assaulted Mrs. Waters. "It was an accident," Maxine began. "Was it?" The woman pressed, forcing her back against the wreckage. "You people always have excuses, never take responsibility." Maxine's phone buzzed. A text appeared briefly. "Honey, the test is complete." Maxine Waters executed Protocol Alpha. Only front-row viewers glimpsed the message, but they were too focused on the chaos to notice. "I've seen this before," the woman announced to the audience. "They come into our world, pretend to belong, then blame us when they fail. This is why I support workfare, not welfare. Real consequences for real failures." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the crowd. Maxine stood perfectly still in her torn outfit, surrounded by Beverly Hills elite, all convinced they were witnessing justice. Her posture straight, breathing steady. No one noticed the weight of her silence, born from boardroom experience, not just service work. She was waiting, gathering evidence. The attacker demanded, "Are you going to clean this mess or just stand there?" Maxine bent to pick up glass, revealing a glimpse of a black American Express Centurion card, unseen in the chaos. Exactly, the woman said, satisfied. Clean up. Maybe next time you'll be more careful. The clock ticked to 9:45 p.m., 15 minutes since the incident. Phones recorded every angle. Social media buzzed with outrage. Maxine's phone buzzed one final time. A small private smile flickered across her face, unseen but shifting the room's energy. The real test was about to begin. Instead, Maxine met her opponent's gaze directly, and for the first time since the incident began, spoke with complete clarity. Mrs. Sterling, I want to ensure I understand your position precisely. You're saying I am personally responsible for damages to your dress, your floor, your event, and your evening, and that you intend to pursue full legal action against me for these damages. Is that correct? The precision of her words caught several guests off guard. The catering supervisor blinked in surprise. A few socialites exchanged uncertain glances. Victoria, however, was too enraged to notice. Finally, she gets it. Yes, you are responsible for everything. Every penny of damage, every moment of embarrassment, every consequence of your clumsiness and incompetence. And I want everyone to see this punishment. Everyone should understand what happens to people like you when they forget their place. Her smile was triumphant. This is a teachable moment for you, for everyone watching, for anyone who thinks they can enter my world. She grabbed Maxine's already torn outfit and yanked hard, ripping it further. The fabric gave way completely, leaving her uniform in tatters. The crowd gasped. Cameras flashed frantically. Livestream viewers spiked past 80,000. There, Victoria said with satisfaction. Now you look like what you truly are. Broken, worthless, destroyed. But Maxine didn't flinch, cry, or crumble. Instead, she smiled. A small, almost imperceptible smile that transformed her presence in the room. A smile that belonged in boardrooms, not service kitchens. A smile that suggested she knew something no one else did. Thank you, Mrs. Sterling, Maxine said quietly. That was exactly what I needed. Victoria frowned. What do you need? What are you talking about? I needed to be certain about your character, your values, your true nature when you believed no one could fight back. Maxine explained, calm and professional. You've provided more evidence than I could have hoped for. Several guests felt a chill they couldn't explain. Something about the scene felt off, but they couldn't pinpoint it. The security chief stepped forward. Ma'am, should we call the police? Assault and property damage occurred. Yes, Victoria said immediately. Arrest her. Charge her with everything. Are you certain? Maxine asked calmly. Once law enforcement arrives, everything becomes official. Public record. No retraction possible. I'm certain, Victoria said. You attacked me, destroyed my property, ruined my event. I spilled wine by accident and you physically assaulted me twice in front of 80,000 livestream viewers. Sarah's tone remained level, but her confidence unsettled Victoria. Backing down now would look weak. Call the police, she ordered. The security chief spoke into his radio. Dispatch, this is Unit 7 at the Sterling residence. Officers needed for assault and property damage. 2 units sufficient. Maxine's phone buzzed one last time. She read the message and nodded. Units en route. Legal team standing by. Press contacts alerted. Stock positions confirmed. Ready when you are. Love you, Marcus. She typed back quickly. Perfect timing. Full execution authorized. See you in 10 minutes. She put her phone away and faced Victoria directly. Mrs. Sterling, I want to give you one final opportunity to reconsider. Are you completely certain you want to proceed with legal action against me? Victoria laughed sharply, triumphant. Are you trying to threaten me? You standing there in rags, about to be arrested? She turned to the crowd. Can you believe the audacity? Socialites laughed along. Livestream comments exploded in support for Victoria. Viewer count 95,000. I'm not threatening you, Maxine said calmly. I'm offering a chance to show mercy, to demonstrate that you are capable of decency when given the opportunity. Mercy? Victoria's voice cracked. You want mercy? You should have thought of that before attacking me in my own home. Maxine straightened her shoulders. Despite the torn outfit, despite the humiliation, and surrounded by hostile witnesses, she looked regal. Then we proceed. Police sirens wailed in the distance. The crowd pressed closer, sensing the climax. Phones recorded every angle. Social media buzzed. No one realized they were about to witness the most expensive 10 minutes in Beverly Hills social history. Maxine checked her phone one last time, smiling quietly. The real show was about to begin. We were 30 minutes until VIP presentations. Sirens grew louder, echoing off the pristine streets. Victoria stood triumphant, surrounded by her supporters, believing justice was served. Maxine's phone rang. She answered immediately, pressing speaker so the ballroom could hear. "Hi, darling. How's your investigation going?" The voice was deep, authoritative, the kind that commanded boardrooms worth billions. The crowd fell silent, straining to listen. "Very thoroughly, honey," Maxine replied, her torn uniform now irrelevant. "Mrs. Sterling just tore my dress, physically assaulted me twice, and called the police to have me arrested for accidentally spilling wine." Victoria's smile faltered. Something was wrong. Maxine's entire demeanor had shifted. Her posture, her voice, her complete lack of fear. None of it fit the image of a submissive maid. "Mrs. Sterling?" a voice asked. "Victoria Sterling of Sterling Properties." "Yes," Victoria snapped. "And who exactly are you to interrupt?" "I'm Marcus Williams, CEO of Williams Global Investments, and the woman you just assaulted is my wife, Dr. Maxine Waters." The ballroom erupted into chaos. Guests frantically searched phones. The live stream comments went berserk. Victoria's face drained of color as the crowd around her backed away. "Marcus Williams. Williams Global," she whispered. The search results flooded screens. Real estate mogul. Worth $6.2 billion, largest private investment firm on the West Coast. Quiet king of Beverly Hills development. Victoria stammered, looking at Maxine with dawning horror. "You're not. You can't be." Maxine removed her service apron entirely. "Harvard MBA, board member of 5 corporations, and yes, Marcus Williams' wife. Tonight I was conducting a character assessment." Live stream viewers exploded past 120,000. Comments flooded in. "Holy, she's a billionaire's wife." Marcus's voice carried through the speaker. "Victoria, my wife has been evaluating whether you have the moral character worthy of a Williams Global partnership. We needed to see how you treat people you perceive as powerless." Victoria's mouth opened and closed silently. The socialites who had laughed began to realize the magnitude of what they had witnessed. "The test was simple," Maxine continued, her voice authoritative. "How do you treat people when you think they can't fight back? When you assume they have no power to hold you accountable?" A woman in diamonds whispered, "Oh my God, we're all on camera." "You failed spectacularly," Maxine said, looking directly at Victoria in front of 120,000 live stream witnesses. "You revealed exactly who you are when you think no one important is watching." Victoria's legs seemed to give out. She grabbed the edge of a nearby table for support. You were testing me." "This was all planned. The spilled wine was an accident." "Your response was entirely your choice," Maxine replied calmly. "And it told us everything we needed to know about your character." Marcus's voice continued, clear and precise. "Victoria, Williams Global was prepared to announce tonight a $1 billion investment in your Marina Bay Resort project. Contracts were ready for Monday's signing." The word billion hit the room like a physical blow. Victoria's board members panicked, pushing through the crowd. She emphasized past tense. Victoria stammered. Marcus' response was cold and precise. "I'm instructing our legal and finance teams to cancel the Marina Bay project. $1 billion in funding withdrawn permanently. Additionally, all existing bridge loans, $200 million, are due immediately." Livestream comments blurred with shock. Viewer count hit 140,000. Victoria's CFO appeared, phone pressed to his ear, face ashen. "Victoria, our stock is crashing. Down 38% in after-hours trading. The board is in emergency session. This can't be happening. This can't be real," Victoria breathed. Maxine stepped forward, no longer hiding behind subservience. "Mrs. Sterling, what you witnessed tonight was a planned character evaluation. We wanted to see how you treat people you believe are beneath you. The results speak for themselves." She gestured to the crowd, all now recording, not in support of Victoria, but to distance themselves from the disaster. 40,000 people just watched you physically assault someone you thought was powerless. They saw you tear my clothes, push me down, and call for my arrest, all because I accidentally spilled wine on your dress." Marcus's voice continued, explaining the corporate consequences. "Victoria, the character assessment clause in our partnership agreement clearly states that any potential partner demonstrating discriminatory behavior, physical assault, or systematic mistreatment of employees fails our moral standards and becomes permanently ineligible for Williams' global investment. Victoria's personal attorney rushed forward, grabbing her arm. "Victoria, don't say another word. We need damage control immediately." But it was too late. The damage was done, recorded and broadcast to 140,000 viewers, shared across every social platform. Maxine looked around, meeting the eyes of women who had laughed 20 minutes earlier. "Ladies, what you participated in tonight was a live demonstration of how quickly social dynamics change when hidden power structures are revealed." She returned her gaze to Victoria. "You thought you were humiliating a powerless maid. Instead, you assaulted the wife of your largest potential investor in front of 140,000 witnesses." Police sirens approached. Through the mansion's windows, red and blue lights flickered against the palm trees. Marcus's voice carried one final message. "The officers arriving will find a very different situation than the one you reported, Victoria. I suggest you use the next few minutes to reconsider whether you want to pursue legal action against my wife." Maxine smiled, that same quiet smile she wore when Victoria first tore her uniform. "The choice is still yours, Mrs. Sterling, but now you make it knowing exactly who I am." Victoria stared, realization dawning like a nightmare. The maid was gone. In her place stood a woman belonging in the boardrooms of the world's most powerful companies. A woman whose husband could destroy Sterling properties with a single call. A woman who had spent 30 minutes collecting evidence of assault and discrimination in front of the largest live-stream audience in Beverly Hills history. The police cars pulled into the circular driveway. Real consequences were about to begin. 10:05 p.m., 25 minutes until VIP presentations. Beverly Hills officers entered through the mansion's grand foyer, radios crackling with dispatch updates. Two uniformed cops, expecting a simple assault, walked into what resembled a corporate boardroom in chaos. Marcus's voice continued through Maxine's phone speaker, addressing the 147,000 live-stream viewers in the stunned ballroom audience. "For transparency, let me explain what Victoria Sterling just destroyed tonight." Victoria stood frozen, wine-stained Chanel stark against her pale face. Her board members clustered around, urgent and panicked. Williams Global was set to announce our largest single real estate investment, the Marina Bay Luxury Resort Project. $1 billion in development funding, contracts scheduled for Monday morning. Additionally, we currently hold $200 million in bridge financing for Sterling Properties' existing projects, with acceleration clauses for moral character violations. Victoria's CFO grabbed her arm. "Victoria, the stock is in freefall, down 42%. Credit agencies are reviewing our rating. We need damage control." Sergeant Martinez approached. "Ma'am, we received a report of assault and property damage." "Can you explain?" Victoria opened her mouth, but words failed her. How could she explain that she had called the police on a woman worth more than her entire company? Maxine stepped forward. "Officer, I'm Dr. Maxine Waters. Mrs. Sterling physically assaulted me twice tonight after I accidentally spilled wine. The entire incident was recorded and witnessed by over 100 guests." She gestured to the crowd of socialites, all quietly deleting prior supportive comments. "Dr. Waters?" Sergeant Martinez repeated, recognition dawning. "You're Marcus Williams's wife?" "I am." Mrs. Sterling was unaware of my identity when she chose to assault me. She believed I was hired help and acted accordingly. Marcus's voice cut through again. "Officer, my wife was conducting a character assessment. Sterling Properties was being evaluated for the largest investment in our company's history. Mrs. Sterling's behavior tonight provided all the evidence we needed." Victoria finally found her voice. "This is entrapment. She was lying about who she was." "I never lied," Maxine replied calmly. "I never claimed to be anyone other than Maxine Waters. I wore a catering uniform provided by Elite Catering Services, hired specifically for tonight's evaluation. Everything I did was legal and transparent." Detective Carter stepped forward. "Mrs. Sterling, what exactly did you want us to arrest Dr. Waters for?" She threw wine at me, destroyed my dress, then refused to take responsibility." "From the video evidence I'm seeing on social media," Detective Carter said carefully, glancing at his phone, "it appears you physically grabbed and tore her clothing in response to what looks like an accidental spill." The live stream comments were overwhelming. Even police officers watching the live stream seemed to confirm Victoria's misconduct. 148,000 witnesses versus one wealthy, agitated woman. Maxine held up her torn uniform. "Officer, Mrs. Sterling grabbed my collar and tore it here," she said, pointing to the shoulder tier. Then she pushed me into the champagne table and grabbed my uniform again, ripping it further down the front when I tried to stand. I also have time-stamped photos of each assault, plus audio recordings of her statements about people like me and where we belong in society. Victoria's personal attorney appeared from the VIP section, grabbing her arm. "Victoria, don't say another word. We need to discuss damage control immediately." But Marcus's voice over the speaker left no room for damage control. "Officer, I want to be clear about the financial implications of tonight's character assessment. Williams Global is immediately implementing the following actions." The ballroom fell silent except for the soft hum of recording phones and police radios. 1. Cancellation of the Marina Bay Resort project. $1 billion in committed funding permanently withdrawn. Victoria's knees buckled and her attorney steadied her. Socialites whispered nervously, realizing they were witnessing corporate collapse. 2. Acceleration of all existing bridge loans. $200 million due within 30 days under the moral character clauses in our agreements. Victoria's CFO typed frantically, trying to reach non-existent emergency funding. 3. Distribution of tonight's character assessment video to our investor network, managing over $47 billion in real estate investments. Detective Carter raised an eyebrow. $47 billion? That's significant influence. 4. Immediate review of all Sterling properties. Partnerships within our investment network with recommendations against future association due to moral character failure. Maxine addressed the officers. "Gentlemen, Mrs. Sterling called you here to have me arrested for assault and property damage. I am prepared to file countercharges for assault. Discriminatory harassment and destruction of property. My uniform, provided by Elite Catering at $85, is now ruined." Sergeant Martinez looked between the two women, one in a torn catering uniform, speaking with corporate authority and calm, the other in an $8,000 gown looking shell-shocked. "Mrs. Sterling," he asked carefully, "do you still wish to pursue assault charges against Dr. Waters?" Victoria's attorney whispered frantically as board members huddled, making urgent calls. Marcus's voice gave the final ultimatum. "Victoria, you have exactly one path to avoid total financial destruction. I'm offering terms that expire when the officers leave this building." The ballroom held its collective breath. 148,000 live stream viewers waited. Even the police seemed riveted. Terms of 1. Public apology to my wife. Recorded and distributed across all social media platforms. 2. Compensation to Maxine of $2 million within 24 hours for assault and public humiliation. 3. Donation of $10 million to organizations supporting workplace dignity and civil rights, focusing on service worker protection. 4. Complete restructuring of Sterling properties with external diversity oversight, mandatory character training for all executives, and annual reevaluations. 5. Resignation from day-to-day operations, with leadership transition to executives capable of passing character assessments and rebuilding company reputation. The terms hung like an execution order. Social media exploded, viewer count hitting 151,000. Marcus's voice continued with finality. Refuse. And by Monday, Sterling Properties will face bankruptcy from loan acceleration, complete investor withdrawal, and federal legal action for assault and discrimination in a public accommodation. Maxine added quietly, "Mrs. Sterling, 151,000 people witnessed your assault on someone you believed powerless. That is not a civil matter anymore. That's a federal civil rights issue with video evidence." Detective Carter nodded grimly. "Dr. Waters is correct. The combination of discriminatory language and physical assault could constitute federal charges." Victoria looked around desperately, at socialites who cheered her assault but now recoiled, at the live stream cameras broadcasting her downfall, at board members calculating impossible costs, and finally at Maxine standing with quiet dignity, having dismantled a billion-dollar company with patience and moral authority. Victoria's voice broke. I need to speak with my attorneys and my board. And God, what have I done? You revealed your true character, Maxine said simply in front of 150,000 witnesses. The question is whether you can accept responsibility for your choices. Sergeant Martinez asked. "Ma'am, what would you like us to do? Pursue charges against Dr. Waters or take your statement about being assaulted?" Detective Carter's radio crackled. "Ladies, we have other emergencies. Do you need reports tonight, or can this be resolved privately? Frankly, this looks like a civil matter already being resolved in real time." Marcus's voice was final. "You have until the officers leave, Victoria. After that, the offer expires, and full legal and financial consequences proceed. No negotiations, no extensions, no mercy." The question hung like a loaded gun. Victoria's company, fortune, reputation, and freedom, everything depended on her next words. At 20 p.m., 10 minutes until VIP presentations. Victoria Sterling stood in the center of her ruined ballroom, the silence broken only by 153,000 watching online. Her attorney whispered, but Victoria wasn't listening. She was staring at Maxine Waters in her torn uniform, radiating the quiet authority that had just dismantled an empire. Victoria's voice cracked. I accept your terms." Marcus's voice pressed through the speaker. "All of them?" Victoria nodded, realizing he could not see her. "Yes, all of them. I accept full responsibility for my actions tonight." Sergeant Martinez exchanged glances with Detective Carter. "Ma'am, are you dropping the assault charges against Dr. Waters?" "Yes," Victoria whispered. "There are no assault charges. I was the one who committed assault. Dr. Waters was the victim." Maxine stepped forward, composure unwavering despite the torn fabric. "Mrs. Sterling, I need you to be clear about what happened tonight, for the record and for all watching." Victoria faced the live stream cameras, hands trembling over her wine-stained Chanel. "I physically assaulted you," she admitted. "Tore your clothing, pushed you down, and called you names based on perceived economic status and race. I did this because I thought you were powerless to stop me." The confession hit the live stream like a bomb. Comments exploded across every platform. Full confession. 153,000 witnesses, Maxine prompted gently. Victoria's shoulders sagged. "Now I understand you're Dr. Maxine Waters, wife of Marcus Williams, and this was a character test. A test I failed completely." Maxine looked directly at the nearest camera. "The terms my husband outlined are non-negotiable. Do you understand that?" Victoria whispered, defeated. "I understand." Victoria turned to the crowd, her voice steadying as she tried to regain composure. "Ladies and gentlemen, I want to apologize publicly for my behavior tonight. Dr. Waters conducted a legitimate character assessment, and I responded with violence and discrimination. The police officers began packing up, satisfied the situation could be resolved without criminal charges." Marcus's voice cut through the room with precision. "Victoria, initiate the first transfer of $2 million to my wife tonight. My legal team will provide account information within the hour." Victoria's CFO, still working frantically on his phone, spoke up. "Mr. Williams, we can authorize the transfer immediately. The board has been in emergency session and the $10 million donation will require 72 hours to liquidate. But it will be completed." Maxine addressed Victoria directly. "The character training for your executives will be conducted by the Williams Institute. Comprehensive monitoring will ensure lasting change." Victoria nodded silently. "Whatever you require. And my resignation from daily operations." She scanned the room. Friends, supporters, her social circle. They now looked at her with a mix of pity and disgust. "Effective immediately," she said quietly. "The board can select interim leadership while we restructure." Maxine's phone buzzed. She glanced at the text and smiled slightly. "Mrs. Sterling, despite tonight's events, there's good news. Williams Global's investor network has been monitoring this. 3 companies have already expressed interest in acquiring Sterling Properties assets at fair market value. Employees can keep their jobs during the transition." Relief washed over Victoria. "My employees. I was so worried about what this would mean for them." "Your workers shouldn't suffer for your moral failures," Maxine said simply. "That's why character matters in leadership." Detective Carter approached. "Ladies, it appears the situation is resolved. Dr. Waters, if you need to file reports later, you have our contact information." "Thank you, officers," Maxine replied. "Justice is being served through other channels." The officers left, marking the official end of the crisis. But the work had only begun. Maxine addressed the ballroom, voice carrying despite the torn uniform. "Ladies and gentlemen, tonight was a planned evaluation of character under pressure." Mrs. Sterling's response revealed how power can, influence moral judgment. The socialites who had laughed and recorded her assault now looked ashamed. However, Maxine continued, Mrs. Sterling's willingness to accept responsibility and make amends shows redemption is possible when people choose accountability over denial. Victoria looked up, surprised by the note of compassion. The Sterling Properties restructuring will become a model for how companies recover from moral failures, Maxine explained. Transparency, accountability, external oversight, and genuine commitment to change. Marcus's voice added through the speaker. The Williams Institute will publish a case study of tonight's events with Mrs. Sterling's permission to help other organizations implement character-based evaluation systems. Victoria nodded slowly. If it helps prevent others from making my mistakes, then yes. Use my failure as a teaching tool. Maxine stepped closer, voice lowered. Mrs. Sterling, you now have the opportunity to become a better leader than before. Don't waste it. Victoria met her eyes for the first time since the revelation. Dr. Waters, I thank you for giving me a chance to make this right. The live stream viewer count had peaked at 156,000. In the comments, messages of hope appeared alongside shock. This is how accountability should work, one read. Both handled this with class. Sterling can come back if she means it. Maxine looked around the ballroom one final time, broken crystal being swept up, socialites quietly reflecting on what they had seen. And Victoria, humbled but not destroyed. The character test is complete, Maxine announced. Now the real work begins. The VIP presentations were canceled, but a more important lesson had been accomplished. A billion-dollar lesson in character broadcast live. Months later, Maxine Waters stood at the podium of Harvard Business School, addressing 800 MBA students, their phones recording every word. The same confidence that had guided her through Victoria Sterling's assault now commanded the room. The most dangerous assumption in business, she began, is that character doesn't matter as much as competence. Tonight, I will share how that assumption cost one company $1 billion. The screen displayed the now famous image, Maxine in her torn uniform, standing with quiet dignity, while Victoria Sterling loomed in a wine-stained Chanel. Caption, the $1 billion character test. Dr. Waters, a student asked, how did you know Mrs. Sterling would fail? Maxine smiled. I didn't, that was the point. We needed to see her authentic response when she believed no consequences existed for her behavior. The transformation became a global case study. Sterling Properties under new leadership thrived. The Sterling Standard for Ethical Behavior was adopted by over 2,000 companies worldwide. Victoria Sterling sat in the third row taking notes. Having stepped down from daily operations, she enrolled in Harvard's Executive Leadership Program, learning about workplace dignity, unconscious bias, and moral leadership. Mrs. Sterling, Maxine addressed her. Would you share what you've learned about character under pressure? Victoria stood now in simple business attire. I learned that who you are in private becomes who you are in public. I thought I could compartmentalize my prejudices, but they poisoned everything I touched. Dr. Waters didn't destroy my company. She revealed that I had already destroyed it through small moral failures building to one catastrophic moment. The auditorium was silent, captivated. The hardest lesson, Victoria continued, was accepting that I needed to change fundamentally, not just apologize. It took months of therapy, education, and accountability before I could even begin to earn trust back. Maxine nodded. Character failures rarely happen in isolation. They are the culmination of compromises over years. The statistics spoke. The Williams method uncovered moral failures in 23% of executive candidates, reduced discrimination lawsuits by 67%, and raised employee satisfaction by 89%. Another student asked, how has your experience changed workplace protection laws? Maxine explained, 47 states passed legislation requiring public accommodation businesses to enforce anti-discrimination policies with accountability. The Sterling Act mandates reporting systems and external oversight. We shifted the focus from reacting to harm to preventing it through character evaluation. The Williams Institute processed over 50,000 character assessments, from CEOs to local managers. The method: observe how people treat others when they think no one important is watching. Character testing isn't entrapment, Maxine clarified. It's creating opportunities to reveal values under pressure. Some fail like Mrs. Sterling initially. Others show integrity when they think no one is watching. Victoria raised her hand. May I add something? Maxine nodded. The most valuable lesson wasn't about my failure, Victoria said. It was about Dr. Waters' response. She could have destroyed me, but she offered accountability with redemption. That taught me more about leadership than any course ever could. The audience murmured appreciatively. Sterling Properties, under new leadership, implemented revolutionary workplace policies, profit sharing, mandatory dignity training, and empowered worker advocacy boards. The company's stock reached all-time highs. Ethical companies proved more profitable long-term. A student asked, "What would you say to someone who thinks character testing is manipulative?" Maxine replied, "Character isn't tested by manipulation. It's revealed by opportunity. Every day we choose to treat people with dignity or dismiss them unconsciously. Character testing makes these choices conscious and consequential." The presentation concluded with a montage. Victoria apologizing to Maxine, collaborating on policies, and Sterling Properties transforming into an industry leader. The final image, Maxine and Victoria, 18 months later, signing federal character accountability legislation. Change is possible, Maxine said, looking at Victoria. When people choose growth over defensiveness, Victoria smiled back. And when others choose teaching over destruction. The auditorium erupted in applause. Maxine concluded, "Your homework this week. Observe your character choices. How do you treat those who cannot affect your grade, your career, or your success? The person you are when no one important is watching determines not just your success, but your legacy." Students filed out, asking Victoria questions. She answered patiently, showing the depth of authentic accountability. Maxine watched with satisfaction. The $1 billion character test had created something far more valuable, a template for moral leadership reshaping corporate America. Character is your most valuable asset and greatest vulnerability, Maxine reminded them. The Williams method isn't about perfection. It's about accountability, growth, and building systems that reward dignity over power. Witness injustice, document it. Fail character tests, own it. If you have power, lift others, don't tear them down. Character is destiny.